Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. I'm Nigel Mbayak, your host for today. And so, first off, we've got Jose, who happens to be in the same room as me for some reason, um, as well as Brian Shannon over there at Autodesk, who I would say is like the godfather of all of this PLM, PDM stuff. So, definitely glad to have you both here.
Thanks. Had I known it, I would have changed my background up too. Make it more professional.
We could
Yeah.
all been in the same house.
Right.
So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I know the last couple of weeks we've had a couple of different sessions, some being the what's new in 2021 products. Hopefully you all enjoyed those. Changed it up a little bit last week with some generative design, but this week we're going to be going over something that us here at KETIV think is really important, and that's kind of surrounding the data that your business creates, kind of around the idea of using Autodesk Vault in conjunction with other tools where you can take that data even beyond that. And Brian will explain that a little bit better than I can, seeing as this is the area in which he super excels in. This is where his expertise lies. Um, so if anyone has any questions, go ahead and fire them away during the webinar. I'll go ahead and answer those. Brian, do you have anything to add before we get started?
No, we'll be watching your questions. Even though we're presenting, let's think of this as a dialogue. So let us hear what you're thinking. We'll have time at the end, and then we'll talk about next steps.
Go ahead and take it away, Brian.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everybody. So my name is Brian Shannon. As mentioned, I work at Autodesk. I've been there 15 years. And the entire time, it's all been PDM, that is to say Vault or PLM, Fusion Lifecycle. So today I want to talk to you about a new offering, which is actually the combination of Vault and Fusion Lifecycle. We're calling this Vault PLM. So we're going to take a walk through it, demystify it, talk about a couple of things, but what I'd like to do is first set the stage with what we're trying to talk about. We're trying to address the issue of common challenges that we have with managing product data. So data from initial inception or concept all the way through to design, analysis, and then even into manufacturing and retirement. But along the way, because we have that element of time, we have to talk about the cost of quality, the cost of change, the cost of time, and the tools that we have to manage all of it. And so we're going to talk about that and then talk about how do we address inefficiencies. They're there. They're actually, they show up in a number of ways, of course. Globalization, something that we're all aware of currently, data sharing and communication, bottlenecks, a lot of manual efforts. So when it comes to PDM and PLM, those are just acronyms. So what we're actually talking about here is a real challenge. And what I'd like to do is show you tools that we have in play right now, today. Some of them you may already have that start to address the issues that we are currently facing, and then ways that you can break down some of those barriers. So we're going to throw a lot at you. I know this is being streamed, recorded. Follow-ups from here, please reach out to KETIV if you have any questions on what we're going to be covering here. There will be webinars coming up, something that we'll cover at the end. We have an entire calendar that goes out through August of all of these webinars. So with that, I want you to think of today, how do you manage the many moving parts of the product lifecycle? A product is something that you might have a different word for, but let's just talk about it as a product. There's something that goes out the door, something that you create, make, fabricate, outsource. So how do you manage all of those pieces? And the truth is, if you're actually in business today and you're making a product, you're probably doing this. It might not be formal. It might be word of mouth, tribal knowledge. It might be email, spreadsheets, and that's okay. But I want to talk to you about ways that we can make that better. So if we take an example, and the words here, these are just samples, but if we take a look at a typical development process from sales through engineering, pre-production, testing, validation, production, service, all of these, this is the complete life cycle of any given product. Doesn't matter how big or small, but in the manufacturing space, if we take a look at this, oftentimes you'll hear us layer in what I call the three-letter acronym. So this alphabet soup of three-letter acronyms means different things to different people. Okay, so CRM, customer resource management, PDM, product data management, ERP is enterprise resource planning, MRP, manufacturing, same thing, and then MES is manufacturing execution systems. And there's other ones in there too. We can throw all sorts of them in there, but what we're going to talk about today is how we solve this through product, people, and process. We're basically going to break it down. And the first one that we're going to talk about is talking about the product, just the data itself. And this is PDM. And the good news is PDM, you know that already. This is our Vault product line. So we have that. And so the acronyms here, or the icons, you might recognize, say, Vault, Revit, Inventor, AutoCAD family, Navisworks. These are already existing tools that we have at Autodesk. But I want to focus on and first talk about PDM, because that's likely where a lot of your focus is. PDM means product data management. But when we say that, it conjures up a lot of thoughts. So this word cloud is just an example. Of course, it's product data management, but people think about the bill of material and access and permissions, CAD files, other files, what other file, and then file relationships and all of that. So PDM is that, that first step in what we're going to be talking about today. So this word cloud, you could of course answer other clouds, but this just comes off of surveys where what does PDM mean to you? But what does it mean at Autodesk? PDM is a way to manage the data. So anything that a variety of CAD products, in fact, upwards of 40 plus different CAD platforms, Vault can manage. So PDM will manage that, the AutoCAD family, Inventor, but it's not just for Inventor and PDMC. It actually branches out into AEC and Civil and others. Office, so PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Outlook, all of those other file formats. There's more than just CAD files that go along with a design or product or project. And of course, we have support for other formats, PDF, Bentley MicroStation, and Creo, and SolidWorks. So if you're making something that goes along with your design, there's one answer, and that's Vault. Vault can manage that. And when we say it's there, when we say Vault can manage it, we literally mean it's there in Canvas, in the application. And this is where if you're an Autodesk customer today, you might learn something a little bit different here. Vault is not just for Inventor anymore. So it's for the entire AutoCAD suite. And I'm talking about AutoCAD mechanical, electrical, and the list goes on. MEP, Map 3D, architecture, Plant 3D. When we say it's there, it means Vault lives as in Canvas. You can check in, check out, log in, undo checkout, do all of those all of those functions from within the application. And it goes beyond. Did you know that there's a way that 3ds Max, which is part of the collection, can work with Vault? Likewise, Inventor, of course, but we have Civil 3D support, Revit support, Navisworks support. And that's, so when we say it works with it, when we say PDM is there, understanding, and this will become important a little bit later when we talk about bill of material. Vault is there and it understands. It understands the file dependencies, the intricacies, the file formats, different properties, and it's there to collect all that data and help you manage it. That's what PDM, that's what a Vault is there for. So it understands all of the different idiosyncrasies of the file formats, how they're interrelated, and everything that goes along with your design. So Vault is there as our PDM, and that's the PDM part of the discussion, the product data part of the discussion. So it's great if it just did that, but it gets better. Vault by nature is, so first, Vault is included. Vault Basic is included within the collection. So you could start today with Vault Basic. You could start by managing your data. The products in the collection can have a Vault plugin and allow you to go and capture all of that. But you can scale this up. You can move from Vault Basic up to Vault Pro without a do-over, without having to uninstall or do a engineer transfer load or anything like that. Vault Basic migrates up to Vault Pro, and it gets even better from there because by nature, Vault Pro is a collaborative tool that can be scaled up. So you can go and scale up to multiple sites, multiple divisions globally. In other words, the design department doesn't ever have to wait until tomorrow. You can actually have a global follow the sun type engineering. So it's a core part of the PDM story, making sure that all of this data is scalable and available to anybody in any location around the globe. So Vault is good for that and those that are within your company, your organization, let's say within your firewall or your domain. But there are ways that we need to sometimes collaborate and organize data with those outside of our firewall. This could be your contractors, customers, other people that are part of your, even your supply chain. So Vault has means to go and work with those outside of the firewalls, that different Those people that you wouldn't necessarily let into your vault or behind your firewall, you can still work with them without FTP, email, using Box and Dropbox. So we integrate with tools like Fusion Team, and this is something that we have. In fact, a couple cycles ago webinar, we focused on this, how you can work with Fusion Team and Vault together. And the beauty here is we're keeping it all digital. We're not going in and adding that human error into it. So Vault does great just connecting people, not only within your organization, within other locations, but people outside of your firewall. So it does that. And again, if it just did that, it'd be awesome. But Vault adds in tools that make your day go quicker. Vault for your users, Vault for you administrators makes things even faster and even quicker. So we have tools, for instance, like copy design. And copy design is one of those great tools that takes a good design and allows you to go and copy it. And it might be 50%, it might be 90 or plus % of what you need. Tools like copy design address the design reuse, so you don't have to stop or start from scratch anymore. Tools like the revision blocks and searching and just Vault being there in a variety of different applications saves you time. It saves you time at the end of a design week, design cycle, knowing that everything's there and everything is taken care of. Along the theme of productivity, within Vault Pro 2020 and now with 2021, we have now duplicate search and reduction. Now, this is an interesting part of the solution because it might be something that you've always thought, you've ever felt like, yeah, I think we've done this before, but you just can't find it or you don't have the time. The good news is Vault helps both retroactively by going and doing a search and showing you all of the duplicate geometry that is in your Vault. And that's great, but that's looking back, and it gives you a dashboard and lets you know exactly where you are so you can take actions. It gives you a report, it gives you a dashboard, and it gives you an action item for that. But then it's proactive. So it gets even better because you can, during your design process, if you happen to make something that is almost identical to something done before, it'll find it. Maybe it's something that you brought in via STEP or IGES and somebody's already done that, or you already have it part of your library. Vault is there to watch. Now, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't happen that much. What could it mean? Well, so we did we did some research, and we have customers that are finding anywhere from 4,000 to well into the 5 figures of what does that mean? So it's not always just about the creation and the CAD and the modeling of a part, but all the work that it goes through to be analyzed, to pull a part number, get all the way through those different 3-letter acronyms, the ERPs and so on. It can be quite expensive, and tools within our PDM, our Vault, help you address this. So it basically helps you identify all of the duplicates, not only from what you're doing today, but it might also help you find trends of why duplicates and duplication happens. By that, and just showing and shining a light on it, that's going to increase your productivity, so you can stop using and stop spinning your wheels, and this adds time into concept and exploring other parts of your design without having to constantly chase part numbers and so on. So within there, so we have all of the copy design and duplicate and the knowledge of all of that. What Vault is ultimately the best for is when you get done with your designs, all of that data from Inventor or AutoCAD, mechanical, electrical, that builds a bill of material. Basically, that's the recipe of your data. That's the recipe of your product that's going out the door. And there's no better place to gather all of that bill of material data than inside of Vault. Vault knows that, it understands, it mines out all of those part numbers and descriptions. It understands the structure, your design intent. So be it from SolidWorks or Creo, Inventor, or the AutoCADs, it's there to capture all of the data, and then it gets it ready for the next stage of its journey. So we've taken a look at PDM. This is the data. And when we talk about data, process, and people, that handles the data part of it. But next I want to transition and talk about the PLM, basically the process part of it, and a little bit on the people side of it. So a bit of a bit of an eye chart here, but there's a typical process. This is something that can happen day in and day out. So the schematic that you're seeing here is It's what happens. There are different tasks and changes. We know that not everything goes out the door at revision A or revision 1. Change happens. Change happens for a variety of reasons, and it could be a quality issue, could be something in the field. And Vault PLM, our PLM tool, specifically Fusion Lifecycle, is there to watch all of that and control it, because we want to make sure that when a change does happen, when we go and you see something in Vault go from revision A to B, why? You want to have an audit trail to make sure that you understand why that happens. Tools like PLM can help you go in and make sure that doesn't happen again by creating a non-conformance report, which could lead to a corrective action. And the list goes on. So we support multiple processes. These are all those things that happen when you wonder, why did this change? Why was a form fit function necessary, change necessary on this? You can always trace it back. And over time, it helps your process get better. So Vault PLM is there to bring together data, process, and people. You've probably heard that triad mentioned before: data, process, people. Sometimes it's in different order. So data is there. Vault handles that. Process, we're going to get into with PLM. And then when it comes to people, we talk about not only the internal people, and we talk about the collaboration, but your supply chain, those that are outside of your domain, your firewall, and even beyond. So to take this data even further. So in talking about Vault PLM, and specifically PLM workflows, what you see here, these are what we call the pillars of our PLM solution. Now, PLM can be used for more, but these are the areas that we focus on solving for our customers first. New product introduction is all about the initial concept and prototyping, all the way through to retirement of a product line. Things like new product development come into mind. If you ever hear stage gate management, product portfolio management, this is one of the things that PLM does. It goes a long way to help solve. Enterprise bill of material management. So Vault begins the bill of material with the engineering BOM. The engineering, all of the data that the designers and engineers put into it, into their design intent. But there's more to it. There's, well, what happens then? And there's other additional things in there that take into account for different geographies and locations. So we often talk about the managed BOM, or the design BOM to the manufacturing BOM is what I'm thinking of. Supplier collaboration is all about those people on the outside. This is purchasing and procurement, change management, and quality. So let's take a look a little bit closer at each one of these. And by the way, we have webinars coming up on these topics themselves where we deep dive. I'm going to give you a high level. I'm going to give you just an explanation of what it is. And what I'd encourage you to do is watch the calendar and join in the discussion about each one of these. So this one, new product introduction, this is one that we're doing actually next week. We're going to pick it apart. We're going to focus just on this. So what does it mean? It's an acronym. Yes, sorry, it's yet another acronym, but we're going to demystify it a little bit. What NPI is about is capturing the process. And our PLM tool is flexible enough to adapt to the ways that you set up tasks and workflow and milestones and that dimension of time that goes along with a product design. And so through here, you should have one place to look, not rely on Outlook calendars and Excel spreadsheets and tribal knowledge, like where is this product? Where is it behind schedule? Are we ahead of schedule and things like that? So NPI is a pretty critical piece. The next one is enterprise BOM management. So taking that bill of material, taking that recipe for your product and adding other things into it, taking into account different manufacturing methods or sites or geos, and having a bill of material that you can confidently hand off, knowing all the revs, part numbers, titles, descriptions, and all of that, plus costing, vendors, distribution, all of that is correct. So you can hand it off to an enterprise planning tool like ERP. That's what enterprise BOM is about. It's about making sure that everything's right, so you don't have to go and track everything down. But it starts with PDM, having your data right, your bill of material right, and then it comes up into PLM and beyond. Supply chain. Again, this is on the tip of a lot of people's tongues now. It's becoming a household term. We have a webinar coming up in June that addresses supply chain management with Vault PLM. And what this means is making sure that those products that are long lead, or maybe those suppliers and vendors that if you're trying to track them, who's working for you, who's not working for you, making sure they have access to not only the data, that is the CAD model, but access to all of the bill of material and everything. That is what supply chain management is about. By nature, PLM is it's open to that. So you can let people into, for instance, your Fusion Lifecycle tenant. You can gate exactly what they can see, and they can come in and they can see only certain things down to a granular level. And so we allow this by having the supplier part of it. It makes them, it allows you to start things in parallel and not have to wait to a serial process just to hand it off to them. They can start, and again, this addresses long lead and things of the like. Change management. In this case, we're talking about enterprise change management. So when a change comes through, and it could be from a supplier or a vendor, could be a quality issue, could be anything, you need to track that. Every change that happens, it goes through what we call an ECO. And I know that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Engineering change order, enterprise change order, emergency change order. The key is we have to have a way to manage it. And if you're using email today, using PowerPoint, or not PowerPoint, but PDF and Excel spreadsheets, there's a better way. And through our PLM tool, we have a customizable workflow that you can put, and that adheres to your change paradigm and allows you to have all of the right sign-offs and escalations, delegations, notifications, and everything else. So when a part goes from A to B to C, you have a reason, you have something to look to. And again, it's not meant to get in your way. What the ECO is about is to make sure that everyone understands and everybody signs off and approves on a change. Now, the reason for change might be varied, but when it comes to quality management, quality usually comes up right after change. In fact, the two go hand in hand. So when there's a return on an item, what happens to that? Oftentimes that's behind the scenes. What you don't see is that turns into an RMA, or return merchandise authorization. That can lead to a corrective action, so it doesn't happen again. PLM is perfect for all this. So we have workspaces and processes templatized, ready to go, that handle return, that handle non-conformance, that handle corrective action, and the list goes on and on. We have a webinar coming up, and we'll talk about all of these 3-letter and 4-letter acronyms and what they mean, and just demystify it and show how we can simplify it and actually bring different departments together. And I'm talking about procurement, quality, the engineering department, all through change management. What that gives you is a closed loop process. Just gives you one place to look, one place to audit, one place to go back in and make your processes even better. So we've taken a look at a lot, and I know we've thrown a lot, but between product, data, process, and collaboration, handling the people aspect of it, we have those 3 pillars covered. So a couple more points about Vault PLM. The PLM part of it, so this is actually online, runs inside of a browser, which means it runs on anywhere that you are, on a tablet, on a mobile phone, on any device. So we have it set up. If you contact KETIV if you'd like to see what this looks like. It's also very easy. When you look at it, what we like to say is if you're used to using any modern tool, any social media platform even, you can get an idea of what's going on. So it's meant to be a very comfortable and easy interface, because not everybody is going to be in it full time. So it's a very easy interface to get used to understand workflow and what's required of you from input to reporting. There's also an app store. So we cover more processes than we've outlined a couple slides ago. There's an app store if you want to expand this into other areas, and you could expand it into other processes that are in orbit around engineering. And the app store is there for you as either inspiration or a way to hit the ground running and try a different process. So couple more slides on this. We have existing reference customers that are doing this today, that are actually using Vault and our PLM solution together. So Hasegawa Micron in the UK is using this today. In fact, they have been using Vault and Fusion Lifecycle together for years. And the bridging of the two together allows them to get the process, the throughput that they want, and basically make sure that everything downstream is happening accordingly and timely. Eclair is another one. Eclair is a case study, a good case study in new product introduction. So getting products timely, getting them out to the door. And a fun fact about them, they're using Vault with Creo and SolidWorks. So it's not just for Autodesk CAD data anymore. They see a value in our Vault PLM solution that's allowing them to beat their timelines. And a third one that we have here is Greenpoint Technologies. Actually, one of the very first Vault and Fusion Lifecycle integrations that were out there. So they use this combining Vault and PLM to get their projects done. And again, it's a global scope in their product line. It's pretty bespoke. It's pretty unique. And without Vault and PLM, they just couldn't meet their deadlines and expectations for their products. So we talked a lot about Vault and PLM. And in a nutshell, it's all about getting your products out to market faster, reducing the costs. Collaboration is key, making sure that everybody is on the same page, and ultimately just reducing costs and complexity. So a lot of slides, a lot of stuff that we went through, but I think what we'd like to do now is take and see if we have any questions on the line. By the way, so a quick commercial slide in here. As mentioned, we do have a webinar coming up, and the webinar is next week. It's focusing on bringing new products to market faster. This is the NPI. So the slides in there on new product introduction, we're going to pick that apart. We'll show a little bit of product. We'll explain what it does. We'll explain the benefits of Vault PLM and how it addresses it. After that, we have one on supply chain, then on bill of materials, and then change in quality. So I'd say stay tuned. But with this, let's go to Jose and Nigel. Are there any questions that are coming through?
Yeah, there's a couple. And before we jump into questions, hopefully like what Brian went through, right? I'll let everyone kind of type their questions in. Hopefully what Brian went through kind of helped demystify some of the things out there with all of these three-letter acronyms and what they're actually for. I know I get those questions a lot. What is PDM versus PLM, right? And you can look at your Vault or PDM solution, right, as something that manages your data, right? Like think about like this is a filing cabinet, right? Whereas like the PDMs or the PLM solution kind of manages that whole process, right? What happens to that data before and after, and during when it's within the engineering department. I think that's where it starts to open people's eyes. Like, hey, this data does something when it leaves my inventor model, or like when I say my inventor model, and it goes either upstream or downstream to people in sales, to people in manufacturing, to people like taking these warranty or returns back. That's where that process kind of gets formalized. You're probably doing it today.
Exactly.
And you're probably doing it through email. Maybe you're doing it through paper. I was talking to a customer the other day. They're doing it the same process, right? It's a piece of paper, and it goes from person to person, get approvals, and then after all those approvals happen, they get a part number.
Yeah, it works.
It works. There are just ways to speed up the process and parallel a bunch of those requests. So don't think it's something different than what you're doing today. It's just formalizing that. So we'll jump in a couple of these questions. So Vault PLM, long story short, is it a packaging of Vault and Fusion Lifecycle?
Yes. Yes. It's Fusion Lifecycle and Vault Pro specifically, but it's think of it as a packaging or a collection.
Yeah, how they work, they work fine by themselves, but they work better together is essentially what we're trying to get at here. And like Nigel mentioned, you're probably doing it already. Your process is in place, but these tools will help you formalize it and make it more efficient, essentially getting those CAD models to where they need to along that process of whether it be new products that you're trying to get out to market, or fixing or editing some of your previous designs.
And then how does this work for CAD users versus non-CAD users? That's a great question, because we're talking about the process and kind of involving people outside of that engineering bubble. How does it work for those people who are outside of CAD, Brian?
So you don't need to have a seat of CAD just to participate with this. Vault Pro can be installed on a machine, somebody who doesn't have any CAD at all. Likewise, Fusion Lifecycle runs in a browser, so Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and so on. So those people that do not need to have a seat of CAD, they don't need it. They can see the models, they can see the geometry, the drawings, all of that, plus all of the metadata that goes with it. So depending on their role, there's definitely a solution within Vault PLM for them. And sometimes if you have the 2D and the 3D, it feels like you have the CAD, feels everything like it, but you just don't need to have that overhead.
Yeah. And like Brian mentioned, with the App Store and PLM being so open to modifying, you can introduce other parts of your business throughout that product's life. One that came to mind during the presentation that Brian was doing was you can put marketing in there specifically. Once everything's designed, how are you going to market this? And add it to your process at that point, you wouldn't need any CAD software to interact. You would just need a seat of FLC.
That's right.
And here's a really good question from David, and this is a lot of the conversations we have around Fusion Lifecycle. So David mentions that Vault Pro has bill of materials by using items, and it's got change orders built in. Is Fusion Lifecycle or like Vault PLM an online alternative to make more flexible ECOs, possibly with more cross-platform support?
So addressing the items in the item master, Vault Pro is ideal at capturing all of the item information because it understands, take inventor. Assemblies have different types. So you can have normal or purchased or virtual reference. So Vault Pro understands that it's the best at that. Vault Pro is actually the best at understanding an AutoCAD electrical BOM. So it's the only answer to understand all of what's going on inside of an electrical project, mining that data out. So if you have, for instance, an assembly and a little bit's electrical and a little bit is mechanical, maybe some parts come from Creo or SolidWorks, Vault Pro is the place to capture all that. Basically, it gathers all of that and it stages it. Like that's the engineered BOM. And then you hand it off to PLM and you can add in other things like cost and vendor and everything like that. So it's not an or, it's an and. It's Vault Pro and its Item Master has a place, and then PLM definitely has a place to add in all of that other information. And so for instance, when a change comes along, speaking about change, it might be a form fit function change, change this piece of geometry, update everything. And that's for the assembly. And that's where Vault Pro's ECO, if you use that, it's ideal for that, because inside of Inventor, for instance, you can actually run a report or see what components are under an active change order that might change how you go about doing things. But when it comes to the ECO that is inside of Fusion Lifecycle, it's also an ECO, yeah, same acronym, but it's more of an enterprise level. So a change that comes along, remember, might not have a form fit function. It might be a change of a supplier or a change in a configuration of the BOM. All of the geometry is the same, drawings, they're all good, but there's a change that happens at a different level, a different layer. So it's not an or, I would call it an and that's how we're positioning and putting these two together. Is there's a time and place for Vault Pro and the design and CAD, and then when that's done, it goes on to PLM to get further embellished.
Absolutely, and like we mentioned too, we're going to be going over all of these pillars of Fusion Lifecycle or PLM in future webinars. So if that's something that really strikes you as important to you and your organization, let us know. Let's take a look here. How's data synced from on-premise Vault to Fusion Lifecycle being in the cloud?
So there's a couple different solutions out there. There's no one way and one way only. We have a solution that's already on the Autodesk price list from Cool Orange. In the past, we've used Jitterbit, which is it's actually an enterprise level middleware tool that is designed to connect this with that. So that can be used. TIBCO, MuleSoft, and there's even some homegrown applications out there from different VARs that are in production today. And so there's no wrong way to do it, but there are probably better ways to do it. But the key is to understand, what do you want to do? Do you want to synchronize? Is it bill of material? Is it just the drawings? Which direction do you want data to flow? And do you want to take advantage of everything? So there's actually one part of the solution with Cool Orange that addresses new product introduction. We'll talk about this in the upcoming webinar, that when an idea goes from crazy prototype concept to like, all right, it's go time, a green light, Fusion Lifecycle through that integration could go and build out a templatized set of folders and hierarchy, basically a straw man down inside of Vault that equals, and it's in line with what's inside of Fusion Lifecycle. So specifically about product development. So there are a couple different solutions. I'd say let's have a discussion about which works the best for you. The good news is you could actually start with the two mutual. We have customers out there, again, reference customers that had both products back before we were positioning them and talking about them together. They had Fusion Lifecycle and Vault Pro, and they had them separate for years before they integrated them. They were still able to see definite return on their money. It's not like one was on a shelf. You could have them separate. Just depends on the way you want to work. I'd say have a talk with KETIV, have a talk with the consultants, and understand, what do you want to do first? What are your phases? And then they can help you with the deployment from there.
Yep, and that brings up a really good point there too, Brian, is with phases, right? Mm-hmm. Is a lot of times when me and Jose talk to customers, or everyone here at KETIV talk to customers, people see this is a huge undertaking, right? There's like 6 pillars here. We've seen a lot of success by getting customers to prioritize what of those sections of product, whether it be Fusion Lifecycle or even things like using advanced inventor functionality with like automation or Vault Pro, and taking bite-sized chunks out of that. And we've seen a lot of success with people creating this phased approach and ultimately getting to where they want to get to. But it's a lot more easily digestible, and so there's a lot more success when we see people use that route. So
what we do often is a business process assessment, find out where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Where are you losing money? And we can expose that. Generally, those are, we don't charge for that because, and I can say we, Autodesk, we take a look at and we send out a survey and we find where is it breaking down? It could be a field service, it could be quality, it could be engineering, manual entry issues, vendor issues. So commit to that. That'll help expose the challenge, and you'll know which one of the pillars to start with. I know a lot of people start with Vault because there's a lot of Vault out there, but even there, you had to start somewhere. You probably started with, can't find the drawings again, or that's not the right part, that's not the right drawing. So Vault is there to, stop the bleeding and go, okay, all right, get that in order. So you have to get your house in order. So do an assessment, talk to KETIV about that, and they'll put you on the right track.
Yep, absolutely. And you'll talk to Jose specifically.
Jose.
And then it looks like you have another question kind of relating to Vault Pro specifically. Any chance that Vault Pro can be installed on the cloud? So I guess not on-premise, not virtual machine.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So you can have it on premise, of course. You get a physical blade that goes in that cold room that nobody goes into. Sure. You can virtualize it. Yep, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. You can also host it on Amazon, Azure. There's a number of solutions out there. In fact, I'm a big fan of this now. Now it's still, it only changes a few things. It doesn't change everything about it. It doesn't make it a SaaS solution, but by hosting it up on a cloud, it just gets that infrastructure. It gets that depreciating asset that you have to purchase and physically manage. It gets it, basically gets it out of your storage or your server room. But I'm a fan of it because it does start to simplify the deployment of it, allowing others access into it. So the good news is we've been there. There are a number of ACAN, Autodesk Knowledge Network, sorry, another acronym there, articles on this. There are classes taught at Autodesk University over the years, Cloudy with a Chance of Vault, Sky Vault. There's a number, and I'm just going off the top of my head. So yes, you can In fact, I'm going to be as bold as say you probably should take a look at hosting the Vault server. The client, though, that's the part that you log into and you can see everything, do your copy design. That's still something that would run adjacent to Inventor and all the other products in the collection. So, but as far as virtualizing Vault server, yeah, take a look at it. Again, talk to KETIV about it, or if you go to Autodesk University online, it's been taught over the years. If you do a search on Irvin Hayes, he was the teacher of a couple of those classes. So again, it's one of those, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Yeah, check it out.
Yep, and it's one of those things too. If you contact us here at KETIV, 95% chance you're talking to Jose. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of the answers today are call Jose.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, we do have customers that are already hosting their Vault on the cloud for many reasons that Brian mentioned. So depending on your necessity, again, we can look at virtualizing that server, putting it on the cloud, and then getting away from that physical server.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a really good question here from Fred. Does Fusion Lifecycle see the lifecycle information? I guess they're just metadata in general from Vault, and then function, I guess, in terms of that information. So for instance, it can't like modify release files, things along those lines.
It depends on how you set it up, but the information inside of Vault is metadata. Of course, something like released and work in progress, that also means things inside of Vault in terms of what happens with that, in terms of purging, in terms of the other rules that you put around it. But if you allow PLM to see the metadata from Vault, that can be a field, it can be a dropdown, it could be something that is actually, you can build rules inside of Fusion Lifecycle or PLM about what those different things mean. And so we enter into the customization and fine tuning of it. But yes, you can map data up into Fusion Lifecycle that is living inside of Vault. Lifecycles included, part numbers, titles, descriptions, or any other user-defined properties that you have in Vault can find their way up. So the data doesn't have to be lost, inaccurate, or typed in again. That's probably the worst one, is when you have to type in data manually again in another system when it already exists.
Yep,
There's a long answer to yes.
Yes,
LDR.
just set it up. As long as it's set up correctly, it's so powerful, the connection between the two. And that's why it's being positioned as a thing together, right? Is when you take one data from one system and get it into another, right? It's not the multiplication of two of the data. It's considerably more than that.
It's an extension, essentially.
Absolutely. And then it looks like we have a question here about experience with Vault and ePlan. Go ahead and shoot me an email specifically. I kind of want to understand what the ask is there, and then I can go ahead and address that. But I have talked to people about that before. So
I see one thing in here on the Zoom chat about duplicates. So good point that's made from Bruce. Not all duplicates are mistakes. You're right. You could have a reason to have a duplicate. What we're talking about are the duplicates where it's the same boundary representation, the same geometry again and again and again, and it just goes all the way through the process. So there is a time and place that you'd want duplicate geometry. There is a place that you'd want that, and it might show up in a variety of different things like you pointed out here. So multi-source by a different vendor, yes. But what the duplicate search and detection inside of Vault does is it watches for instance, one of the big culprits of this was often copy design, where people say, yeah, just take everything and copy it. Well, do you really need all of those standard, anything that's on a shelf in a bin, what you'd consider a library? You don't want to copy, and it starts to expose that. So if those same parts go all the way through the analysis, pulling a part number, getting a manufacturer number, sourcing, that's where those values of 4,000 to 20 some thousand for some customers that's real world data, and it's a good thing. So good point. But the duplicate search is there. You can turn it on or opt in whenever you're ready. And by the way, that's Vault Pro, came out in the 2020.2 release. So if you're on 2020 right now and you're not going to move up to 2021 or that's phased out, check it out now. So putting in an update will expose that to you. Or if you are looking at a 2021 and you're thinking about changing up some of your process, streamlining some things, it's right there. It's a natural part of the product. And again,
Yep.
for more info, I guess we're saying contact Jose on everything. So
Jose's actually doing an AVA on that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Specifically, so it's actually contact Jose, or stay tuned in the next couple of weeks for Jose to actually do the presentation.
I'll be watching.
That won't work out. Yeah, and essentially, again, it comes back to form fit function, right? Brian, if you have the same part in there that's answering the same question for different assemblies, do you really need multiple copies of it? We went over, and we'll go over in one of your webinars coming, or one of the webinars on FLC. You can track that information for suppliers on the same part in FLC as well. So, you know, whether you're doing it to keep track of that now, there might be, or there is other ways that you can track it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then another question too, if Vault's installed on the cloud, how is the local workspace defined? If the Vault is still on a local drive, won't the network traffic be a challenge? So we're talking about not storing the Vault client on the cloud. We're talking about installing like the infrastructure, the Vault brains, the Vault server component, right? Because Vault's comprised of the server as well as like the clients down here. So the server is what's on AWS, Azure, whatever. You're still working as a user in the same manner. You're just connecting to a server that's virtual in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's the same from a user standpoint, and that does bring up the same thing. Like, is network traffic going to be a challenge? Depends on how fast your network is, and how large the files you're bringing up and down are. So definitely, if that's something you're considering, we've seen a lot of customers find a lot of benefit into going to that direction. So let us know what your needs are, and we can kind of point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and network traffic usually is a challenge that gets answered by Vault.
Yep.
You know, if we have customers that have their files on a network somewhere, and when they open it up, that constant communication back and forth causes deterioration in performance. So with Vault, you do need a local copy on your computer. So that means less or no lag between, you know, the network in itself after it gets downloaded to your local. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So another way to look at that, I think that concern, that's something that I heard, and I'd say 5 to 8 years ago. But nowadays, I don't know that that's the same thing. So bringing from a cloud, so a hosted Vault server down to a client in your local machine, in your workspaces, local on your C or your D drive, that might actually be faster now, given the infrastructure and fiber and everything that we have out there, compared to if everything's on campus, like at your same company, and you're all fighting for bandwidth within your company. What is that like? You know, so I'd ask, well, what is that like? Are you competing with, you know, people? I've heard this, you know, like, yeah, it seems to slow down over lunch hour. Yeah, it's because everybody's on, you know, on the network, on, you know, doing something, or you're fighting with your ERP, your financials, or other transfer of data backup systems on campus. So you might find that a cloud hosted, and that might be faster. Or if all's the same, it's just one less thing that you have to purchase, which is another server.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, we've seen people benefit from both going to cloud for that reason, or doing, like, say for example, replicated Vault servers. If you're trying to connect to like a Vault, if your campuses are like separate but you're all connecting to one Vault, we've seen people do that, and there's deteriorating performance because of that network speed too. So let us know, and we can tell you everything that we've learned over the years. We can pick Brian's brain too. He's seen everything. So I think that's everything for questions. So again, thank you all for joining us today. Be on the lookout for more emails in regards to the next couple of PLM webinars that we're going to be going over as well. So see you all next time. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.